overnight fire and horror in Rafah.
Israeli tanks are pushing into central Rafah for the first time since it expanded its offensive there.
So a major airstrike by the IDF and Massacre in Rafah.
All eyes on Rafah. This phrase is narrating a horror story. You must have seen this image on your newsfeed, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and more. But do we understand the phrase well? Why are all eyes on Rafah? Why is the internet divided over this phrase? Are we missing out something amidst the echo? Let's find out. On the night of 26 May, an Israeli airstrike hit the neighborhood of Tel al-Sultan in Rafah, causing a huge blaze at a tented area that killed 45 people. The overnight bombing targeted senior Hamas militants in a precision strike, as per IDF. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in Parliament that something unfortunately went tragically wrong with the airstrike.
Unfortunately, a tragic mishap happened last night. We are investigating the case. We will present the conclusions because this is our policy.
However, the Israeli PM did not mince any words in expressing his resolve, as he said that IDF would move into Rafah with or without a deal to achieve its goal of destroying Hamas. He said, "We will enter Rafah because we have no other choice." What followed has shaken the entire world. Since the May 26th strike, at least 26 more people were killed by Israeli fire in Rafah in the second attack in 24 hours. By 28th May, over 35 more lives were lost in Israeli shelling. Basically, over 100 people killed in Rafah due to Israeli airstrikes, gunfire, and shelling in 4 days. Result: a social media war. An image with the phrase "all eyes on Rafah" has drawn over 40 million shares on Instagram in less than 24 hours, highlighting a renewed social media push supporting Palestinians. The image depicts tents in a camp arranged to spell out "all eyes on Rafah," which is an area in the south of Gaza filled with refugee tent camps. The image has been shared primarily through Instagram Stories feature, with influencers, athletes, and celebrities posting the image. Several Indian celebrities expressed their solidarity with Palestinians by sharing the viral phrase on their respective Instagram stories. The image is said to be one of the first pieces of viral activist iconography to have been created by artificial intelligence. Rick Peppercorn, director of the World Health Organization's Office of the Occupied Palestinian Territories, said all eyes are on Rafah in February, days after Netanyahu ordered an evacuation plan be drawn up for the city. Peppercorn warned against the incursion on Rafah, crowded with Palestinians seeking shelter in makeshift tents. The phrase has since been repeated by groups including Save the Children, Oxfam, Jewish Voice for Peace, and the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. It has become a rallying cry at protests around the world, urging bystanders not to look away from what's happening in Rafah, where roughly 1.4 million people are sheltering after being displaced by ongoing Israeli bombardment on Gaza. On May 7th, Israeli tanks took over the Rafah border crossing officially, after Israeli Air Force pounded over 150 Hamas terror sites. Video by Israeli media showed an Israeli flag flying on the Gaza side of the crossing. Weeks later, on 26th May, Israeli airstrikes, gunfire, and shelling claimed over 100 Palestinian lives. By 28th May, Israeli tanks reached the center of Rafah. 6 Israeli fighting brigades have reached Rafah amid expansion of IDF's incursion in the city. The Israeli army on May 28 announced sending the 6th Fighting Brigade in Rafah to join 5 brigades already in the city as the Israeli army expands its incursion. Alongside the 401st, Givati, Commando, Negev, and Nahal brigades, the Bislamite Brigade is poised to bolster the IDF's presence in the region. An Israeli brigade is said to have between 2,000 and 5,000 soldiers, depending on its operational capability and mission. According to the IDF, the operation in Rafah is guided by intelligence on terror targets. IDF asserts that measures have been taken to evacuate civilians from the area prior to military actions. Amid the Rafah activism, a counter-campaign has gained momentum on social media. Critics of this movement argue that anti-Israel activists are solely concentrating on the country's military campaign and overlooking the actions of Palestinian groups like Hamas, who are accused of large-scale brutality. Hamas terrorists who launched a deadly attack on Israel on October 7 killed over 1,200 people, according to Israeli authorities. The terrorists even abducted over 240 civilians and soldiers, bringing them back to the Gaza Strip. Over 100 hostages remain unaccounted for after being kidnapped by Hamas on October 7, while around 40 of them are presumed to be dead by now. To add to the horror, on May 23, an Israeli group representing the families of hostages has released footage showing the capture of 5 female Israeli soldiers from a military base during the 7th October Hamas attacks. The 3-minute video showed the women sitting on the ground, some bruised and bloodied, with their hands tied, after their capture from the Nahal Oz base in southern Israel. The footage, taken from a 2-hour video filmed on body cameras by Hamas militants during the attack, was previously released by Hamas. With all eyes on Rafah trending to highlight the plight of Palestinians in the region, Israel is still struggling to bring back its hostages, 7 months after this war broke out. Israel is unstoppable now, and Rafah is perhaps just the beginning. For now, the entire world is watching the everyday changing dynamics of this war with a bated breath.